held up... Oh, wait. This is gonna come out on Halloween. I should figure out a Halloween costume. Hold on. Okay, that's better. I am Junji Ito's cat. So, there's my Halloween costume. Imagine, if you will, a show that has the absolute best daddy in anime. A carrot-nosed dog. A sword with over 10 transformations. Shadow stones. Did I mention a carrot-nosed dog? As well as a horse? I don't know what this thing is. Acapella, and more puns than should be legally allowed in one piece of media. Not only this, but it's created by the same person that made Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail, the popular anime/manga series. Let me tell you what does contain all of these things. Rave Master. Rave Master started as a manga series written by Hiro Mishima in 1999. Now, the name Hiro Mishima may sound familiar. As previously mentioned, he created Fairy Tail, which is an extremely long-running and very, very popular series. However, Rave Master was my first piece of work he did that I was introduced to. And let me tell you, there's nothing like it. The Rave Master manga is one of the most fun and creative pieces of literature I have ever read. It has amazing works of art in it. It has interesting characters and plot points. It has really, really well done and well drawn action with fights that really, really draw you into the story. I strongly encourage, no, not encourage, I insist everyone watching this video go and eventually read Rave Master. It is fantastic. However, we're not here to talk about an amazing manga. We're here to talk about the anime adaptation of it. That's right. Premiering in America on TBS in 2001, Rave Master ran for about a year in total, with 51 episodes coming out in its lifespan. However, it didn't really gain any sort of traction until it appeared on Cartoon Network's Toonami, which housed a lot of anime that first exposed kids of my generation to anime. Things like Dragon Ball Z / Dragon Ball Z Kai, One Piece, Rave Master, Naruto, or so many good shows were aired on that and exposed a whole generation of people to anime in a very easy and accessible way that couldn't happen before this point in history. Now, you might be asking yourself, why does this person want to talk about an anime from the early thousands that at best received mixed reviews from most people and was quickly cut off air before reaching its natural conclusion? I will answer those questions. 1. This is my channel, I can talk about whatever I want. 2. To expose people to this wildly underrated and just amazing acid trip of a show. The plot is fun, the characters are easy to get attached to and care for. There are so many interesting concepts and ideas that so far very few other creators have even come close to touching as far as uniqueness and just creativity in general. The Decaforce sword taking on 10 different forms, each with very clear upsides and very clear downsides, and our lead protagonist, Haru, figuring out how to most commonly use those downsides as upsides is awesome. There are JoJo's levels of outthinking your opponent with your restrictions and specific abilities in this. It's really good. Now, I'm going to give you a small recap of the first few episodes, mainly because there are too many amazing moments in the show to talk about, and even just listing everything that happens in these few episodes would create a video far longer than I want to make and than you want to watch. My Kingdom Hearts video was long enough. So this little overview, this little preview, this little teaser of the first few episodes is to whet your appetite so that you want to go out and watch this show. And again, if I was to cover everything that happens, it would be robbing you of this truly creative and interesting experience. So We open in a place called Hip Hop City, and yes, this picks up at a different point in the story than the manga does. The manga starts back on the island. We're just talking about the anime. The anime picks up in a place called Hip Hop City, with our protagonist Haru searching for something or somebody named Plu. And, okay, it's called an arcade, it's a casino. We're in this casino, Haru's looking for Plu, accidentally gets an upskirt of the girl who we will later find out is named Ellie. This sets Ellie off, because him banging his head in shock causes her to mess up the gamble. She freaks out and, just nearly kills everyone in the place. She just blows this casino arcade to the ground. And after a small heated exchange, Haru and Ellie part ways. Ellie, down on her luck, figures that she should leave, go to the next city, and, try her luck there. And she's stopped by a group of acapella-loving shadow guards, who, aka Shadow Dudes.
The Shadow Guard, and we disregard all the pain we inflict on you.
They inform her that there is a hefty fee for leaving the city. Getting in is free, costs money to pay. It's sort of like the capitalist Hotel California of cities. Ellie turns around, kind of defeated, and she runs into Plu, which is a carrot-nosed dog, insect, cat, fish, alien? No one knows. And Plu is the best animal companion in any anime of all time, and I will throw hands on this. I will die on this hill. Try to prove me wrong. So Ellie takes the logical step of finding this maybe dog insect and enters it into the mother of all dog races. And she places a lot of money on him. And Plu doesn't do anything until they start sending in literal death traps to this dog race. Dear Lord. The dog race has killer robots, spears being thrown, mines, arrows, and so many other dangers. I don't know how this is legal. I know an evil shadow government is ruling everything, but come on, guys. Anyway, Ellie jumps in to stop everything. Haru outside the stadium hears the commotion and skateboard grinds down a rail on a broken sign to get in there and stop things. Now, after Haru puts a beat down on some of the lesser goons, the owner of this dog arena / lead shadow guard dude for this area pops in, and oh boy, this is when the puns ramp up.
Here's one. 2 caskets are in a room that suddenly fills up with carbon monoxide. One casket says to the other one, "Is that you coughing?"
I don't know what's worse. This smoker has jokes. I gotta do something. If I could just get close enough to hit him in the face.
And this is also where we get introduced to the absolute lamest catchphrase in all of anime. I hate it. It's so cheesy, I love it.
Revolution!
Never look ahead.
Revolution! Revolution!
Now, it's revealed that this man has what's called a shadow stone, and those give supernatural abilities to the ones using them. And this particular stone's ability allows the user to transform their body into carbon monoxide. Now, if you're not familiar with carbon monoxide, let me show you the educational side of Rave Master, and I will let the sun and moon explain what it is and why it's dangerous.
Sorry for the interruption, but we thought we should explain a bit more about carbon monoxide, better known as CO. My partner will demonstrate the nasty effects of inhaling this stuff. It looks to me like he inhaled a little too much CO, which now stands for currently overcooked, because that about sums up his condition. Time's up. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. That's right. Say goodbye.
Wow, actually educational. This show just gets better and better. To fight back, Haru unleashes more of the power of the Rave, which basically consists of him explosion punching the ground, screaming, "Revolution!" He does this to repeatedly blow away the gaseous form of this guy, but it doesn't seem to work for too long. However, after this stops working for too long, he then decides to take the rave that he's been using to make these explosions and slap it in the huge sword that he has on his back to transform it into a sword that makes explosions. So that's pretty dope. And now, after some clever outthinking of the bad guy and some well-placed explosions, Haru and Ellie are able to make their escape, using the dogs to pull a wagon. And that's episode 1. This absolutely chaotic show. That's just episode 1. Now let's move on to episode 2, where the crew quickly realizes they're about to run into some singing a cappella guards.
Ding. We don't know defeat, we are like concrete, it's the Shadow Guard Review.
And turns quickly down a corner where they fall down possibly the largest pothole in existence, right onto arguably one of the most simpable female characters in the whole show. Hall. They quickly find out that Hal essentially runs a one-woman show underground railroad to help people escape from the Shadow Guard and from this awful city. And so the Shadow Guard sends some more people out to follow them. And when they come to this cart-sized hole in the ground, they were like, well, we were told to search every nook and cranny, but this is too big to be a nook and too small to be a cranny, so they don't investigate it. Like, props to being lazy, wild justification. Haru, Ellie, and Hal take a short break to rest up for a second, get themselves together, and we hear a little bit about Haru's backstory in this. And we find out that he's just a little island boy whose parents are dead. Well, more like his mom's dead and his dad disappeared. All he had left was his sister, and one day while he was fishing, he fished up Plu. And he thought Plu was a fish. His sister thought Plu was a dog. That's why he calls Plu a dog. Ellie thought Plu was an insect. Eventually, an old man with a huge bandage doll on his back shows up and recognizes Plu as his old companion from 50 years ago. Turns out this old man was the dude who stopped the Shadow Stones from taking over the world 50 years ago. And in the final battle, the explosion killed 1/10 of the population. Not just 1/10 of the population, destroyed 1/10 of the world. On top of that, it scattered Shadow Stones and the Rave Stones everywhere, left the dude injured and Plu out of commission. And then he also lost Plu. So then, not long after this new old man arriving and him and Haru bonding a bit, this dude comes to rob the old man, and the old man's like, I got this, I'll use the Rave, but it doesn't work, because the Rave's chosen a new person. The old man's like, Haru, take the Rave and run. And Haru's like, nah, I'm good. And he uses the power of the Rave to explosion punch a regular dude in the face. We snap back to reality. Oops, there goes gravity. And Hal gets Haru and Ellie down to the docks, ready to go. But they're stopped by the character who I consider like the first goalpost of a villain in this series. He's the first of the big bads that we will get to know. And his Shadow Stone allows him to create living fire that will track you and stay on you, which is pretty dope. Haru and him have it out for a while, and it eventually leads to a sort of stalemate where Haru breaks the dude's Shadow Stone. Meanwhile, Haru is tired and done. This leader of the Shadow Guard looks at Haru and is like, I knew your dad. And Haru's like, what? What happened to my dad? And he's like, you're gonna have to wait for that information, buddy. And just leaves. So as we come to the final little bit of this episode, our plucky teen Haru shows up, pulls out his sword all happily, and then this giant 100-pound chunk of steel just breaks. It's been perfectly fine handling explosions for literally decades, and he just pulls it out, and while he's holding it, it just snaps. They have to figure out a way to fix it. He's given the advice to track down a legendary blacksmith named Musica, who lives in a place called Rock Street. Rock Street, Musica, hip-hop town. You can see there's a music theme here. Again, sort of like JoJo's, but not nearly as specific. It's like if Araki wanted to do names for music, but didn't know any bands. So the next episode opens up on a literal bank heist being performed by Musica. And wait, Musica? This is the legendary blacksmith they're looking for? This strapping young lad leading a gang in a bank robbery? With a blimp? Guess we'll have to see. Haru is making his way with Ellie through the desert, where the blimp that holds Musica and his gang comes down for a landing, and they sort of harass Haru and the gang. The thing that there's a whole hullabaloo over a hole in a watering can, and Musica just comes over, puts his palm over it, and mends the metal fully. Musica. And he can seem to meld metal, bend metal with his hand. This isn't like metal bending, but way cooler than what's an Avatar, in my opinion. I love you, Toph, and your founding of metal bending is awesome, and what your descendants did with it was cool. Musica's silver bending metal stuff is just so much cooler. I think it's so much more stylish. Oh, also, I think I called it Rock Street earlier. It's Punk Street. So after that happens, they just kind of abandon Haru and Ellie in their blimp, and Haru and Ellie see Punk Street out in the distance, which is literally just a few streets in the desert. I don't know why, if you were just in a place called Hip Hop City, you would have to go from a docks through a desert to find essentially a singular street in the desert called Punk Street. I feel like that should just be in Hip Hop City. It's like if Las Vegas was 2% of the size, but also located multiple hours outside a place called Gamblingville. So, while wandering around Punk Street, Haru quickly runs into a drunkard. Someone who drank too much soda pop. Because remember, this is an American dub of an anime in the early thousands. Gotta censor everything.
These donuts are great! Jelly-filled are my favorite! Nothing beats a jelly-filled donut!
When this old drunkard hears Haru mention the name Musica, he's just like, hey, if you help me get home, I can tell you about who Musica is. Oh, and earlier Ellie had split off. Haru leads the drunk old man back to his place, where he then gives Plu soda, but don't worry, it's caffeine-free.
That carbonation could sure clean out your system. How about more?
Plu still gets on a sugar rush, which Haru is not happy about, but this old drunk man reveals himself to be Musica, which means this is the second person we are told is named Musica. The old man offers to take Haru's sword, and it'll take about 2-3 days to fix it. Haru's ecstatic, leaves the sword with him, and the rave, by the way, the sword and the rave, and just goes, books it out of there to find Ellie. Meanwhile, Ellie has run into the gang leader Musica, who tells her that there is no one else named Musica, because that was his family name, and his whole family is dead. So that presents a little bit of a problem. 2 people claiming to be Musica. Are you going to trust the gang leader or the drunk, almost hobo? Turns out after a little bit of discussion between Haru and Musica, there were just 2 people named Musica. That's the solution for that. No one was lying. There were just 2 people named Musica. I love it. I love this so much. No one was bullshitting. It was just, they just both had the same uncommon name. The gang leader, Musica, tells Haru that you've been tricked. You've got to go get your sword back. They just figure out that there's 2 people named Musica, and while Haru, Ellie, and Musica are all chatting, this dude named Mr. McScrewslist, that's not his real name, that's just what I call him.
Is not see. Is no.
Shows up and decides that he wants to get the rave by force, and also wants to kidnap Ellie, because everyone wants to do that at some point in this show. So, obviously, we start a battle. gets thrown out. It starts out with Daddy getting pounded. Musica getting beaten up.
Who is the new master?
And also, while this fight goes on, we will get to see some things like casual sexism, some backstory reveals, and Plu stinging people, as Ellie puts it. But it's more like Plu is using his hard as diamonds carrot nose to stab the foot of each assailant that is attacking the gang. So in all reality, Plu's just like drilling a 2-3 inch hole in diameter into people's feet constantly. That's pretty metal. So Musica gives his heartfelt backstory to Haru during this fight, and reveals why the other Musica has to be an imposter. Ellie ends up getting kidnapped, and they want to save her, but Haru doesn't have a sword, so he goes to try to get his sword back from the blacksmith who may or may not have stabbed him. While this is going on, we found out that the old man Musica was actually planning on double-crossing Haru, and stops at the last minute and doesn't go through with it. However, this means when Haru comes back and needs his sword, it hasn't been repaired because Musica just planned on selling it and then didn't do anything with it. So it's still broken. Haru has no sword to go save Ellie from Mr. McScrewsloose and the boss that he's bringing him to. After another heartfelt discussion, Haru convinces this old man by Musica's like, we have to save Ellie now. And so Haru just like walks out and is just like, okay, I guess I'm gonna go in there with my fists. And the dude's like, you're crazy, stop, I'll fix your sword as fast as I can. I don't know if there's time though. So Musica goes to buy them time. Not old man Musica, young Musica goes to buy them time. So Musica gets in there, and while beating the crap out of this dude's goons, keeps making jokes and talking about his academic history, which is just lovely.
Well, no cookies for him.
I'll get him. He's history.
Sorry, pal. I prefer science. Actually, geometry wasn't so bad either. Or English. I got an A. I would have to say gym class was my favorite. Looks like you could have said that I'm anything but history. Bell's ringing. School's out for today.
Meanwhile, while the big bad is waiting for Haru to show up because he doesn't care about Musica, threatens Ellie and then reveals what his favorite social media is while waiting for Haru to get there.
Tick, tock, tick, tock.
So this baddie who ordered Ellie to get kidnapped is named Lance. And Lance is like the first like real fight of the series. This is the first time when like Haru really gets pushed, and I would talk about this scene, but I want you to experience this fight. This fight is fantastic, and I think is a great precursor to show you the type of fights that will come. It is 20 times better in the manga, but that does not take away from how good it is in the anime still. So after this little teaser of the first few episodes, there is so much more that happens in this show. There are explorations into Ellie's memory loss and PTSD. Musica's heart grows 3 sizes and becomes friends with everyone. Haru finds out about more of who he is, who his dad is, what destiny he needs to live up to. He makes friends along the way. We get to see a world that has been not just destroyed by war, but then rebuilt by a shadow government. Totally not like anything we're living through now. We get to see Plu. Plu is Plu. That's all we need from him. Rave Master might not be nearly one of the biggest names in anime or manga. It may not have ever been the #1 chart topper on anything, but I think it deserves far more recognition and popularity than it currently gets. I hope by making and sharing this video, I can get just a few more people to watch it and enjoy it. So yeah, take your meds, drink some water. Happy Halloween. That's it.